The country's exports continued to stay strong in April, led by robust sales of semiconductors and cars. President Yoon is likely to hold a press conference sooner rather than later to mark his second year in office to bolster communications. And the presidential office is considering reviving a senior secretary post in charge of civil affairs to better reflect public sentiment. High-level security officials of South Korea and Australia met in Melbourne and discussed Seoul partnering with AUKUS, while agreeing to thwart North Korea's nuclear and weapons ambitions. It's May 1st, 2024. This is Newscenter. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Min. We start with South Korea's robust exports. The country recorded export growth for the 7th month in a row last month. This was led by strong sales of cars and chips. Our correspondent Park Kwon-woo has the latest numbers.
South Korea's exports saw another year-on-year increase in April, rising for the 7th straight month. According to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy on Wednesday, outbound shipments saw a jump of 13.8% to over $56.2 billion in export value last month. The value of imports also rose by more than 5% year-on-year last month to around $54.7 billion, resulting in a trade surplus of $1.53 billion in April, the 11th consecutive month since June 2023. 13 out of 15 main export items saw growth last month, the largest number of items seeing an increase this year. Outbound shipments of automobiles hit a record high of nearly $6.8 billion, up 10.3%. Exports from the IT sector, including chips, displays, SSDs, and wireless devices, all saw increases for the second consecutive month. The value of semiconductor exports jumped to nearly $10 billion in April, a 56.1% year-on-year increase. That was mainly due to higher prices for memory chips, including DRAM and NAND flash, caused by higher demand. In terms of region, 7 out of 9 major export regions saw a growth in imports from South Korea. Outbound shipments to the U.S. increased for the 9th month in a row, reaching a record high $11.4 billion in April, up 24.3%. The value of shipments to China also once again exceeded $10 billion in the same month. But as concerns rise about exports, especially for chips, being concentrated to certain regions, the Trade Ministry said it'll try to deal with this.
We still have to find new markets in different regions, though exports to places such as India and the Middle East have also risen. Aside from shipments to the U.S., we will do our best to diversify the export market through suitable policies.
While mentioning that the trade surplus in April was recorded despite global uncertainties, the Trade Ministry added it would support companies so that the robust export performance will continue into the second quarter. Park Kwon-woo, Arirang News.
To fight the chronically low birth rate, paternity leave will be extended and job-related information would become more accessible. Now, this is according to the government earlier today. Our Moon Hye-ryeon walks us through the upcoming plans.
The country's demographic concerns, namely the low birth rate and the dwindling workforce, are being addressed through a series of new measures to come in the second half of the year. During an emergency economic ministerial meeting on Wednesday, Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok unveiled the government's plans to improve social mobility.
We have prepared measures to increase social mobility in 3 areas: jobs, education, and capital formation.
The first of the measures to be introduced aims to heighten the participation of young people and women in the workforce. In March, the number of those below the age of 30 in employment fell on year. The number of those in their 20s and 30s who said that they weren't seeking employment for no particular reason and just taking a break has been hovering around the 600,000 range since last December. As a result, the government is creating an all-care platform that aims to offer more than 1.4 million young people and those not in employment, education or training, employment-related information and linking them to jobs. Paternity leave immediately following birth will also be doubled to 20 working days in order to prevent career breaks and support re-employment for new parents. in light of a recent report from the Korea Development Institute that suggested being unable to resume economic activity after giving birth was a key reason behind the low birth rate. Data released by Statistics Korea show that South Korea's population could drop to as low as 36 million by 2072, as the country saw its lowest fertility rate last year at 0.72. As for improving education, the government will be expanding the age range for various national scholarships. A scholarship that was previously only available for middle school and high school students will now be extended to elementary school students from low-income families, while another that links students with jobs at SMEs and provides tuition fees will prioritize students with such backgrounds. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Starting today, that is May 1st, a new transportation discount option goes into effect, offering greater transit access. That being said, our An Song-jin compares this latest option to Seoul's own public transport card.
I'm standing here at Yangjae Station, where Line 3 and the Shinbundang line heading into Gyeonggi-do Province meet. I can take Line 3 using my climate card, but when I try to use the same card to transfer to the Shinbundang line, I'm unable to do so.
통과 불가 카드입니다. 다른 노선 게이트로 하차 후 이용해 주세요.
On the other hand, with a new K-Pass that starts on Wednesday, I'm able to take both lines with this card. So what public transport can each card be used for, and which card is the best for customers? Seoul City's climate card has proved to be a hit, with 1 million sold in 70 days up till the beginning of April, exceeding the target of 500,000. This unlimited transport card, which also includes public bikes for the price of 65,000 won, or around $50, is geared toward users of buses and subways in Seoul. But starting Wednesday, there's another public transport discount card, the K-Pass. The biggest difference is that this can be used nationwide, and if used at least 15 times a month, there's a partial reimbursement of travel costs. People between the ages of 19 and 39 can receive 30% cashback and 53% for users in the lower income bracket. The rest will get 20% off for using public transport up to 60 times a month. This discount program covers intercity buses and subways and is especially useful for those who commute to Seoul from areas just outside the capital. This comes amid efforts from the government to expand transport benefits to more regions.
As fees for public transport continue to climb, and with this card paying back at least 20%, it will relieve the pressure on commuters. Also, when it comes to carbon neutrality, these benefits will lead to more people using public transport.
With different public transport cards to choose from, one expert suggests that now customers can select one based on their specific needs.
As transport and food take up a big part of people's living costs, being able to select a transport card that suits you increases convenience and helps save money.
A majority of the country's cities and provinces are already part of the project. But the government has pledged to continue talks with the remaining 40 municipal governments that are not a part of it at the moment. An Song-jin, Arirang News.
President Yoon is planning a press conference around the time of the second anniversary of his inauguration, which is on May 10th, to bolster communications. Our senior correspondent Oh Soo-young covers this upcoming agenda and more.
President Yoon Suk-yeol is likely to hold a press conference to mark his second year in office and revive a senior secretary post in charge of civil affairs in the near future, in a move to sharpen his administration's sense of public sentiment. According to sources within Yoon's office, the president may hold a media conference as early as next week, either before or after May 10th, the day of his inauguration in 2022. The president has not held a presser since August that year to mark his 100th day in office. He also stopped his impromptu Q&A sessions with the media after a series of unsavory clashes with one local broadcaster. However, following his ruling People Power Party's heavy defeat at the general election last month, Yoon has vowed to improve his communication with the media and the public. His senior press secretary Lee Do-won said in a TV interview Monday that the public can expect to see a press conference to mark 2 years of the administration. The top office is also moving towards reviving a position Yoon previously scrapped when he took office. A senior secretary for civil affairs may soon be appointed to broadly manage personnel issues within the administration and pick up on political trends and public sentiment. Yoon, during his electoral campaign, had pledged to abolish the position, citing misdeeds that occurred under previous administrations, as the secretary wielded too much power over government bodies and could investigate civilians. When instating the new secretary, Yoon will reportedly focus more on discerning public sentiment.
But I think what he would probably do in this context is to use the position as a way to help implement, and also, again, part of this issue of messaging, his domestic policies, and to be a point where this can be coordinated as best as it can be, given the control of the Democratic Party, but as a medium towards which, domestic policies can be sort of pursued in a more comprehensive way.
According to Realmeter on Monday, the leader's approval rating fell for the third consecutive week to 30.2%, the lowest since August 2022. The president himself having apologized for failing to reflect the wishes of the people, the Yoon administration is taking steps to become more receptive and interactive with the public. Observers say the manner of how he conducts his long-stalled media conference will be the first test of progress. Osuyang, Arirang News.
Amid the prolonged medical dispute, the new leader of the largest doctors group in the country has started his term. A tough road could be ahead when it comes to talks with the government. Choi Soo-hyung has the latest.
South Korea's largest doctors group, the Korean Medical Association, launched its new leadership on Wednesday. Amid the conflict between the government and the medical community over increasing the number of medical school admissions, the new president Im Hyun-taek started his term. He posted on his Facebook that he will do his best to solve the medical dispute. He has been strongly critical against the government plans and instead has argued for decreasing the total places by up to 1,000 places, citing the country's low birth rate. Im plans to form a consultative body consisting of medical students, doctors and medical professors to prepare for talks with the government. Meanwhile, medical professors from some hospitals have started to halt outpatient services and surgeries, excepting emergency and severe care, for 1 day per week, starting from Tuesday. No massive medical gaps have been reported so far, and the officials said it's because the 1 day halting of services has been carried out based on individual choice. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo expressed relief in Wednesday's briefing that this huge medical gap hasn't yet happened and said the government keeps enhancing the emergency response system.
The government deeply thanks the medical staff on the front lines. It's fortunate that the medical professors continue to treat emergency and severe inpatient care services.
The professors at Seoul Asan Hospital and Seoul St. Mary's Hospital, two of the so-called Big Five hospitals, will halt their medical services for 1 day a week on May 3rd. Meanwhile, most of the medical schools nationwide have finalized their enrollment figures for next year. It seems there will be 1,550 more students admitted, which is less than the government's original plan for 2,000 more students. About a week ago, the government allowed universities to freely determine the admission slots for 2025, ranging from 50% to 100% of the total enrollment quota. Most national universities outside the capital region decided to admit significantly fewer students than first planned, while private universities are either sticking to their regional plan or decreasing admissions by just a few students. Each university will announce its official admissions guide, including the number of new students by May or early June after approval from the Korean Council for University Education. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
South Korea's two main political parties have agreed to add revisions to a special bill on a new investigation into the 2022 Itaewon crowd crush disaster. The chief deputy floor leaders of the ruling People Power Party and the main opposition Democratic Party held a joint press conference on Wednesday where they announced their agreement on forming a revision committee and its operational period and investigation method. The special bill was passed during a plenary session of the opposition-controlled assembly in January, but was vetoed by President Yoon later that month. The rival parties have agreed to address the revised bill during Thursday's plenary session. The same day, the presidential office welcomed the agreement, saying that it is considered a tangible outcome of cooperation between the parties, which began with the recent meeting between President Yoon and main opposition leader Lee Jae-myung on Monday. Over in Melbourne, the foreign and defense ministers of South Korea and Australia held talks on issues ranging from North Korea's threats to the possibility of South Korea joining AUKUS as a research partner. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung reports.
The foreign and defense ministers of South Korea and Australia sat down in Melbourne for the so-called 2+2 talks. Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol and Defense Minister Shin Won-sik met with their Australian counterparts, Richard Marles and Penny Wong, on Wednesday to deepen bilateral ties and cooperation on regional security. On the agenda was a commitment to address North Korea's evolving security threats.
We agreed to collaborate in blocking North Korea's access to funding for its illicit nuclear and missile development, and to thwart illegal activities, such as arms trading between Russia and North Korea.
So I think it is important for us to continue not only to express solidarity with the Republic of Korea in the face of this aggression, but also to call out Russia's behaviour as irresponsible and destabilising.
Also discussed in the meeting was the possibility of South Korea partnering with AUKUS Pillar 2. Pillar 2 of the defense deal between the US, UK, and Australia is a pact focus on sharing military technology across a range of areas, including hypersonic weapons.
We welcome that the AUKUS members are considering South Korea as a Pillar 2 partner. Korea's defense, science, and technology capabilities will contribute to the development of the AUKUS Pillar 2 as well as regional peace.
Korea is obviously a country with deeply impressive technology, where we do have shared values, where we have strategic alignment, and where we engage closely together.
The two sides also took note of their mutual participation in military exercises. Shin said the countries reaffirmed their commitment to continuing joint exercises and further elevating the level of cooperation between their armed forces. Additionally, the countries agreed to continue enhancing mutual and beneficial partnerships in the defense industry. This comes as a South Korean company was selected to provide Australia's next-generation infantry fighting vehicle project, valued at $250 million. The day wrapped up with the ministers releasing a joint statement based on the outcome of their meeting. The previous 2+2 meeting was held in Seoul in 2021. Besides the US, Australia is the only other country that South Korea holds such regular talks with. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
In the Middle East, fresh fears have been fueled about the fate of Rafah as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claims a raid into this southern Gaza city will take place regardless of a ceasefire deal. Lee Seung-jae explains.
It's been nearly 7 months since the armed conflict between Israel and Hamas began in October 2023, and another round of negotiations has begun. A deal would mean the release of Israeli hostages, aid relief for Palestinians, and avoiding an Israeli offensive in Rafah. However, all that seems to be up in the air now, as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made it clear that an Israeli offensive in Rafah will be conducted with or without a deal. Netanyahu and his government have called the southern Gaza region Hamas's last stronghold, with the Israeli leader emphasizing that stopping the war before achieving all of its goals is out of the question. Responding to Netanyahu's remarks, the White House on Tuesday expressed its opposition to a Rafah offensive. According to White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby, the U.S. doesn't want to see an operation that hasn't factored in safety and security of the over 1.5 million Palestinian refugees in the region. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Tuesday that during his planned talks with Netanyahu, he would convince Israel that it needs to allow for an increased flow of aid into Gaza. Blinken says while there have been some improvements in the humanitarian aid situation in the enclave, much more is needed to ensure proper assistance reaches the Palestinians in a sustained manner. Wednesday's meeting between Blinken and Netanyahu will come on the back of U.S. President Joe Biden's warning to the Israeli leader that Washington's policy could shift if Israel fails to address civilian harm, humanitarian suffering, and the safety of aid workers. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Moving on to the situation in Ukraine. A Russian missile attack on the southern port city of Odessa has killed at least 3 people and injured 3 more. This, according to Reuters, citing regional governor Oleg Kieper on Wednesday. The Ukrainian official wrote on his telegram that the attack was carried out early on Wednesday by a ballistic missile that damaged civilian infrastructure. No further details were provided. 2 days earlier, a Russian missile attack on Odessa killed 5 and injured dozens. The southern city has been a frequent target due to its port infrastructure. Back here at home, the capital city's annual festival, Seoul Festa 2024, kicked off on this Wednesday, running for 6 days. As our Yoon reports, visitors can explore the city's diverse charms through a variety of engaging experiences.
Seoul Festa 2024 is here. Presented by the Seoul City Government, the 3rd edition of the city's Spring Festival features experience events in popular locations such as Seoul Plaza, Gwanghwamun Square, and Myeongdong.
Until last year, Seoul Festa mostly featured concert-style programs centered around K-pop. This year, we've integrated a range of elements such as fashion, beauty, K-pop art, and more to create an exciting and diverse festival for everyone to enjoy, both locals and tourists.
Seoul Plaza kicks off the first day of the festival with a K-pop concert, while Gwanghwamun Square turned into a playground where visitors can experience the city's culture, fashion, beauty, cuisine, and more. At the food zone, visitors enjoyed Korea's street snacks and desserts.
It's really good, very savory, but we like Korean food.
At the culture zone, visitors can create their own Korean name.
Plus, they gave you a Korean name. It was for a fun purpose. For purpose. Yeah, it was very cool. It was really fun. Funny, so.
It was very, and they gave us like that name, Jinji Chong and
Sayo.
It was fun.
Many more artistic activities are stationed at the culture zone, such as writing Korean calligraphy and drawing Seoul City. And those with a competitive edge can play takji, one of Korea's traditional games. The game is played using folded paper squares. Players take turns flicking their takji to flip over those of their opponents. Another popular zone is focused on K-beauty.
Here at the beauty zone, you can try out K-beauty styling for hair, makeup, and nails. Also, don't miss the chance to capture your Seoul Festa moments with a glamorous photo shoot.
There are also K-pop challenges and tours of different spots in Seoul. This includes Korean barbecue parties in Noul Park with beautiful views of the Hangang River. The event runs until next Monday, with more details on the festival's official website. Lee Eun-hee, Arirang News.
Today, the central parts of the country were mostly sunny and warm throughout the day. However, there will be 5 to 10 millimeters of showers in Jeollado province until tonight, since the atmosphere is unstable. The days will get hotter and hotter. The heat will return when temperatures rise to 28 degrees Celsius on Friday and close to 30 on Saturday. Tomorrow and Friday, the morning temperatures will drop sharply, and there will be places where temperature swings will widen from 15 to 20 degrees. Make sure to wear a jacket for the morning and evening. Tomorrow, Seoul will start off at 12 degrees. Many places will be below 10 degrees in the morning. Highs will climb up to 25 in Seoul and Daejeon, Busan 20 degrees. It will be sunny until Saturday, but rain will continue from Sunday afternoon to next Monday. There will be many places where it will rain on Tuesday as well. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.